Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Zaina and this is a mindful space with another Twin Flame collective reading for all of you Twin Flames out there for the month of June. As you can see, I'm using a different deck for the Grand Tableau Lenormand reading today, and I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to actually start up here. We're going to start here because this is what the month of June is bringing in: potential communication challenges. Now, when we look at this card, this is the kind of conversation that goes round and round in circles. What this person is saying is not being heard. And the way this person is saying what they're saying is the reason it's not being heard. So what we're being asked to do is shown in this card. We're being asked to rise above this energy. What is this energy? This is the ego. I must win. I must win this at all costs. I must be better than this other person, because in order to win, you've got to be better, because you are going to create a loser. Look at the difference in these energies. We've got these two people flying above the mundane. They're happy, they're laughing, they're enjoying themselves. Most of the time, these arguments come out of boredom. And right now, with the social isolation, there's a lot of boredom. There's a lot of challenge in partnerships at the moment, in communication at the moment. A lot of communication is online or through Messenger and not face-to-face. And I've had enough experiences of that going very pear-shaped. So I feel as though the most important thing is to understand that this is one facet of the connection. It is not the whole. This is simply ego. This is higher self. This is I must win at all costs. This is we can work a way through by rising up past our ego perspective. Because this is all about shifting our perspective when it comes to this bond. So this is a very important message for the month of June. Now, next to this, we have the sun. And what I'm getting here, particularly with these three cards, this eclipse, this solar eclipse that's happening in June, is going to show something very important that will lead to change and transformation. We can see it very, very clearly here. This sun is going to illuminate something very important for you to see, which will lead to great transformation. And this transformation will help overcome confusion, uncertainty, and doubt. That's what this is really about. This is clarity. This is confusion, uncertainty. This is when we are being asked to really trust in our intuition. That's the key. That is the key for the month of June, trusting in our intuition. The solar eclipse isn't till, I think it's later in June, maybe the 21st or 22nd. So before that, we have a lunar eclipse. Looks like the lunar eclipse is going to provide a key. But what I'm seeing here, particularly with the snake here, this energy here, the soul journey, the soul path, our soul destiny, we are being led to look at the snake. The snake can represent pain. it can represent what was hidden from us. But underneath that, there's so much more going on, because once we face our pain, once we acknowledge it, then we can see how this leads to greater wisdom. It is this wisdom that we want to use in order to make the changes in our lives at this time. Not the ego. We do not want to make decisions based on what our ego wants. We've seen what that gives us. The snake is about shedding our skin. That is again another card talking about transformation. It makes sense. Eclipses do bring about transformation. Their effects can last for 6 months. So this is really important, this story that we're seeing here. The moon is in the position of the coffin, and the coffin does represent endings. But we know now, don't we? We've been on this path long enough to understand that whatever is coming to an end is going to lead to a new beginning that is far more aligned to our soul path, represented by this card. We are in resistance. We can see this here in the expression, if I can get some clarity here. We are in resistance to this. This is our ego being guided away from what our ego thought would bring us joy and happiness. And so there is a sense of loss, disappointment, sadness, as we can see in this card. What's interesting down here, the masculine, this card, is focused on the stars. This is very positive. The masculine is aligning to the universe, the soul wisdom, universal soul wisdom, if you like. And what I really like here is the masculine has their back to obstacles that lie in the way of what they dream about. And with this card in the position of the heart, that really strengthens this. Masculines are really being pulled towards what their heart desires. It doesn't mean they're taking action, but look at this. This person does look like they're getting ready to. They're getting ready to, but not just yet. Now, this card here, this is the Tower. It can represent several things, but we can get a general energy here, especially with it in the position of the mountain and beside the mountain. This tower can represent the past. How the past can block us when it comes to manifesting what our heart desires. This tower can also represent loneliness, feeling isolated. And that isolation, that social isolation that many of us are going through is creating this obstacle, this challenge, pushing us to acknowledge these feelings. Now, we either acknowledge them or we deny them. But they'll just wait until we're ready to acknowledge them, and that can take as long as it takes. Next lifetime, but let's hope not. So the key here, again, comes back to the snake. Acknowledging the discomfort. Acknowledging what is showing up that we are not comfortable with. Understanding that the minute that we acknowledge to ourselves a situation that is not working for us, we have already begun to change it. The simple fact of noticing it and acknowledging it brings about a transformation. Doesn't that make you feel just a little bit better? But most of the time we tend to avoid, we tend to lie to ourselves about how this is causing us to feel blocked. We tend to say to ourselves in society, I'm fine. Oh, this is fine. I'll be fine. Fine, fine, fine. This is not being honest. And the most important thing is that we are honest with ourselves. You can have a challenge being honest with other people when you are in the process of coming to a truth that is hard to see. But the most important thing is that we are honest with ourselves. We've got the feminine here. On one side we have the lily in the position of the masculine. And I feel this represents this true, long-lasting, sexual, sensual bond and connection. And over here we have the feminine focusing on the dog, which represents loyalty, friendship, something that we are loyal to, in the position of the lily. So we have the feminine sitting between the lilies, the position of the lily and the lily itself. The feminine is focusing on this bond, but I really feel most importantly, the feminine is focusing on what kind of friendship is this? And if it is not aligning to her self-love, then maybe it's time to make that decision to end the current relationship of the ego with the ego. Okay, that's really important that you understand that. What is coming to an end is the relationship of ego to ego. The feminine is really examining what is in alignment to her understanding of self-love, self-preservation, and self-growth, and making decisions accordingly when it comes to relationships in her life that have been there for a long time. The lily is long-lasting. This has been there for a long time. If we look down here, we can see the anchor, child, the bouquet, and the scythe. It is really important that we give ourselves a chance to stop, to rest, and to support our physical bodies at this time as we anchor in the higher vibrational light codes, water codes, and high frequency energies. It's very important to understand that this may create in a child emotions to surface. These are deep-seated. She's in the position of the fish. Deep-seated emotional energies may surface as more of this high vibrational energy is anchored in. This is because as we anchor in more light, we release more shadow. That's the process. And so once we understand that, we know that whatever surfaces is simply being released. It is not something we need to hold on to and examine at every angle. We just understand that it's surfacing to be released. We understand also that we may be experiencing collective energies as well. Because right now the collective are going through a very intense time with COVID-19, as I'm sure I don't really need to explain more on that. So we understand that if these deep-seated emotions rise up, they are doing so we can release them. And the more we release, the more light we can anchor in. And then, and I'm just going to move back up here, we are more likely to experience this kind of relationship rather than this shadow light. Now this is really coming up again because the card that represents love is in the position of this. Okay, so that's why I really wanted to start there. I really wanted to start by speaking about communication from those that we live with, those in our family, and those that are closest to us, because that's what's coming up to be addressed. It's bringing up confusion with the clouds here. And, this could represent karmic relationships. That is, relationships that we have with people in order to resolve karma. And I feel that when we start to realize that that is the kind of relationship that we are in, we start to see that it doesn't have the depth that we are hoping for, that we thought was there. That's what creates the confusion. And then the person you are with can feel and sense you have one foot in and one foot out. And that can create this situation. Really what this person is saying is, I feel and sense you are not fully present in this relationship. But they don't know how to say that. So they speak about other things instead of what's really needing to be spoken about. Now I'm going to go down here and speak about these three cards. The ship and the tree. Tree of life, our spiritual growth. Travel. Traveling inward will give us the answers that we seek. But the key here is to trust this, because sometimes the answers might not be what we want to hear or know. But it's important to understand that this situation, this twin flame connection, is not in our control. It is in the control of our higher self. So in order to understand it, and we do seek to, because this card is right next door, we need to connect to that part of us that's actually in control. Cannot understand this relationship from our ego. We never will. And it will never look the way we think it should or the way we expect it should. The key here is to understand the importance of going inward, of journeying inward and creating this soul connection and soul growth. So overall, the month of June is bringing two eclipses, the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. I feel and sense that these eclipses may create some unstable energies this month. But remember, we have the ability to rise up above whatever is showing itself that we are not comfortable with by asking ourselves the simple question, what can I learn from this? Okay. The other thing I really want to say is I do sense some loneliness. I've got the masculine looking over here, the feminine looking over here. There's not really too much of a connection. I mean, they're not too far apart, but they're not that close either. And I feel with the tower here, particularly in the mountain, that there is a bit of a disconnect. So I want to ask you to please remember to connect to your higher self of your beloved. If you feel lonely, if you feel that sense of disconnection, remember you can connect to your higher self, to the higher self of your beloved and your higher self for the comfort that you seek. And please remember you're not alone. You're not alone. So I'm going to leave it there, and I hope that these messages help give you some guidance at this time. I will be bringing you another reading that will go into more depth about your beloved and what they're going through, just so you can understand and have more compassion for what they might be experiencing, but also recognize the mirror in you. And with that, I hope that you have a powerful month of June, and that you remember to connect to your higher self and to the higher self of your beloved for the guidance and the answers that you seek at this time. And I look forward to bringing you another reading very soon. Bye.